Welcome to Learn About Law. My name is Kevin O'Flaherty from O'Flaherty Law, and today we're going to talk about contempt of court. We're going to talk about the difference between direct contempt and indirect contempt, the difference between civil contempt and criminal contempt, and how contempt proceedings work. Let's start by defining contempt. A party to any sort of litigation or criminal case, any case before a judge, can be held in contempt of court for any actions that obstruct the administration of justice or that are intended to disrespect the court's authority. The penalty can be a monetary fine or it can be jail time. It may be a civil penalty or it may be a criminal penalty, and the type of contempt may be direct contempt or indirect contempt. So now we'll talk about the difference between direct contempt and indirect contempt. Direct contempt is conduct that occurs in the presence of the judge in the courtroom. The purpose of direct contempt proceedings are to maintain order in the courtroom. Indirect contempt is any contemptuous behavior that occurs outside of the presence of the judge. In the case of indirect contempt, the person being charged with contempt has the right to notice, counsel, and a hearing, so all their due process rights. In the case of direct contempt, since the judge has just witnessed whatever the contemptuous behavior is and the purpose is to keep order in the courtroom, there's less due process. Orders are issued immediately and without argument, so without any hearing. So an example is, in A Few Good Men, Tom Cruise is making the gamble trying to get Jack Nicholson to crack and admit that he ordered the code red. You know, basically one of the soldiers to be beaten by the other soldiers. So he's taking a gamble and he's going past the objection of Kevin Bacon and saying, "Did you order that code red? Did you order that code red?" Kevin Bacon objects. The court says objection sustained, but Tom Cruise keeps going. He says, "Did you order that code red?" And then the court says, "You're going to be held in contempt." Tom Cruise gambles that he can make Jack Nicholson crack, and he won't actually be held in contempt because Jack Nicholson's going to say, "You're damn right I ordered that code red. You want me on that wall." But if Jack Nicholson hadn't cracked, Tom Cruise would have been held in direct contempt. He was basically obstructing the administration of the court's justice. The purpose of the contempt was to maintain order in the courtroom. When Kevin Bacon objected and Tom Cruise kept going, the judge lost control of the proceedings, and he could have had Tom Cruise either fined or carted away to jail for failure to listen to the judge. The difference between civil contempt and criminal contempt is really a distinction based on the court's reason for imposing the sanctions. Courts impose civil contempt sanctions for the purpose of compelling someone to do something. Criminal contempt sanctions are for the purpose of punishing someone for something that's already been done. So, an example of the distinction. Let's use The Maltese Falcon, one of my favorite movies. Humphrey Bogart has the Maltese Falcon, and the judge wants it because the judge is in on the conspiracy to get it. The judge orders Humphrey Bogart to hand over the Maltese Falcon. Humphrey, of course, refuses, and so the judge throws Humphrey into jail until Humphrey turns over the Maltese Falcon. When Humphrey finally turns over the Maltese Falcon to the judge, Humphrey is released from jail. That's civil contempt. The judge is trying to compel Humphrey to hand over the Maltese Falcon. He's not trying to punish Humphrey for not handing over the Maltese Falcon. So when Humphrey hands over the Maltese Falcon, then he's released from jail and the penalties are lifted. Indirect civil contempt must be proven by a preponderance of the evidence. So the standard is more likely than not to be true. Direct civil contempt, there's no real due process. You don't have to prove it. There's no hearing. But indirect civil contempt, preponderance of the evidence. Because criminal contempt is actually a crime in and of itself, it has to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt, like all other crimes. So there's a different evidentiary standard depending on whether it's civil contempt or criminal contempt, and that's really the main practical difference. So let's talk about what happens in a contempt proceeding. And this is again all for indirect contempt, because for direct contempt, stuff that happens in the courtroom, there's no real contempt proceeding. But someone is ordered to do something. In a civil case, it would be to comply with discovery requests. They failed to comply with the discovery request, thus obstructing the administration of justice. And the other party files something called a rule to show cause, or a petition for a rule to show cause, why the party that didn't comply with the court's order shouldn't be held in contempt. It's a long, fancy way of saying that they're going to have a hearing on whether or not the person that didn't comply with the court's order should be held in contempt. These are called rule to show cause proceedings. The petition for rule to show cause has to be personally served on the defendant, the person who's allegedly committed a contemptuous action, and this can be by sheriff or special process server or certified mail. And then the hearing will be held at the date shown on the summons for the rule to show cause. And at the hearing, the petitioner will present evidence of the respondent's contemptuous behavior, and the respondent will have an opportunity to respond. If the respondent, the person accused of contempt, doesn't show up to the hearing after being personally served, then the court can issue something called a body attachment, which is a warrant for their arrest. And the next time they're pulled over for a traffic ticket, they'll be pulled into jail until a hearing can be held about their contemptuous behavior, why they didn't show up for the rule to show cause, and whether they should be held in contempt in the first place. So that's all you really need to know about contempt. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call or leave a comment. We try to answer all of our comments. Thanks so much for listening.
Thanks so much for watching our video. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. Click the subscribe button for new videos every week, and download and review us on iTunes. Visit learn-about-law.com for other legal-related articles and videos. Visit our business podcast and video blog, seizeyourbusiness.com, and visit Making Real Estate Fun for real estate videos and podcasts. Call us at 630-324-6666 for a free consultation.